Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to session 16 of Principles of Management course. I am your instructor Dr. Shikha N. Khera from Delhi School of Management, Delhi Technological University. This session is Organizing Part 2. Students, in Part 1, we discussed the concept of organizing, defined it well, tried to understand the principles of organizing along with the process of organizing. We also discussed the concept of organization structure and organization design. And towards the end in the previous session, we tried to highlight the 6 key elements which the managers focus on while they go for organizing functions. And these 6 key elements included the chain of command, departmentalization, formalization, hierarchical relationships in the organization, etc. So, in this session part 2, we shall begin with a detailed discussion on these 6 elements of organizational design and structure. Beginning with the first key element of organizational design that contributes to organization design and structure, it is division of labor. When the total workload is divided into different activities or tasks, we call it as division of labor. In other words, we can also say that breaking down of the jobs into narrow tasks is known as division of labor. And through this division of labor, individual employees can gain job specialization, because once you are dashed into the job which you are repeatedly doing, you will become master of that eventually by performing the part of activity rather than the whole activity. And job specialization enables the individuals to perform their jobs attentively, comfortably and effectively. So, however, the extent of division of labor and job specialization, so while the division of labor is done and job specialization of organization depends on degree to which complexities are there in the organizational tasks. So, further, if the complexities are higher, then the jobs can be divided into simple tasks. An organization may opt for any one of the 3 different degrees of specialization. And what are these? They can be low, moderate or high specialization. So, job specialization is often seen as normal extension of organizational growth. Let us now see the benefits of job specialization. If we go for job specialization in organization, what are the gains out of it? First gain is for the employee gains expertise and competency, which they perform simple and small tasks separately. Second, job specialization helps in reducing the training requirement of the employees as they perform any single activity or specific activity, thus they get themselves accustomed to high quality work. Then it simplifies the selection process as employees are often required to have specialization in one area only. So, thus the selection process also gets simplified. It reduces the transfer time loss between tasks of employee really performing different tasks. As we all know that we cannot perform all the tasks together. At a time an individual can perform only one task. So, the time loss which is taken when the tasks are shifted from one individual to the other individual, this time gap between the end of one task and beginning of another task can be reduced by job specialization. Also, job specialization helps the organization to develop task specific and specialist equipments in order to assist with the job, since the job tasks are clearly and narrowly defined. Further, it enables the supervisors to manage relatively larger number of employees as they are well versed with the job. Who are well versed with the job? The employees, since they are doing the job specialization, so they know their job. When they know their job, it becomes easier for the supervisor to manage large number of people, because training is not much required and supervision is also less required at this stage. It enables the managers to set exact performance standards for the employees and facilitate faster detection of any job related, performance related issues. And then it is easier for the managers to find replacements for the employees who perform single and specialist tasks, as substitute can be trained within a short time, since they have to be trained in a specific area or a specialized job. But as we have seen, there are benefits of job specialization. Students, every coin has two faces. So, it has certain limitations also. Though job specialization can provide multiple benefit, but employees performing specialized job may become bored and disillusioned with their jobs, as the jobs do not normally offer any challenge or inspiration. So, it may lead to what we call as job monotony or boredom at workplace. This boredom may lead to high level of negative aspects. What are the negative aspects? Absenteeism, lower productivity, and high attrition rate. Then overconfidence arising out of job specialization. If someone is repeatedly doing a job, he may become overconfident and may tempt employees to compromise their safety, resulting in accidents and injuries, which can be quite dangerous and fatal at the place of work. Lack of intrinsic satisfaction, that is the satisfaction obtained from performance of the job, may affect the quality of work life of the employees, and it may also make it difficult for them to strike a proper work life balance. So, these can be many limitations of job specialization. The second key element for organization structure and design is departmentalization. So, as we have already discussed what is departmentalization, breaking down of various tasks of the organization into units which have commonality in them, commonality in terms of function they perform, in terms of customer they cater to, in terms of product they are offering. So, on the basis of this, units are clubbed together and these units are then termed as departments on the basis of various different categories. Let us see in departmentalization. The organization does not feel the need of division of its activities into different units as long as it remains small, simple and straightforward. Then we only have one or two departments. But with the increase in magnitude of organizational size, organizational volume of activities, or maybe geographical dispersion, the result is that we need to go for departmentalization. So, with such personalized supervision may not be possible with organizations reaching to certain high level of size and volume. Thus, as a result, we need to go for departmentalization, and at this stage organizational activities are divided. They are assigned to manager who would look after these activities on behalf of owners. Now, the manager has to take the role of the owner here for each department. And in for example, in academic institutions, for instance, the need for departmentalization is considered as a function for growth in size. As the size increases, we need to go for different departments. Also, we need to go for different departments for specialization of knowledge in a particular subject, and faculties also expect some amount of autonomy in work. So, thus departmental faculties or heads are made. So, this is because the owner cum manager can personally supervise the activities of his or her employees. Thus, we go for departmentalization. Further, since the activities cannot be randomly grouped, students, can we group the activities randomly? No, we cannot group the activities randomly. So, organization has to follow certain norms or basis for the plan of organization. So, the grouping of organization activities is based on norms and processes, and this is called as departmentalization. It is based on certain norms and certain process. Adopting any of the local basis, managers can classify and group activities into related and manageable work units. The ultimate purpose of such grouping is effective accomplishment of organization goals and plans. We are by now very well clear about it. So, grouping can be done by managers on the basis of, as I started off in the initial section of the session, I said, can be based on functions, can be based on geographic locations, or maybe can be based on products or services types, or on the basis of customer categories. So, for example, sales people working together in sales department or production people working together in production department are examples of departmentalization. An organization can also have hybrid organizations or hybrid organization structures through a combination of various department types. Let's have a quick view on definitions of departmentalization. It may be defined as a process by which a firm is divided by combining jobs in accordance to with shared characteristics. So, these are commonalities on the basis of which the jobs are defined or grouped together. Further, it is a process of grouping according to some logical arrangement. So, commonality is nothing but a logical arrangement. And finally, the grouping into departments of work activities which are similar and logically connected to each other. So, that means we can say that departmentalization refers to grouping of organizational activities according to some logical basis and organizational logical and commonality arrangement. Let us now discuss the purpose of departmentalization as derived from various definitions. So, why are we grouping in logical commonality form? The major purpose here is group the individuals with common background and shared characteristics. This is very important. With common background and shared characteristics, they can help each other perform the job. Define the relationships of position within the organization. So, this is what we have discussed, the hierarchical relationship of positions in the organization. Establish formal lines of authority between the two jobs and fix the clear responsibility and accountability of the job. Also provide job specialization to organizational members and increases the economies of scale, that is having reduction in cost through enhanced production. These are the major purposes of departmentalization for which any organization which is bigger in size and volume goes for or opts for having departments. So when management achieves success in forming effective departments, it can expect desired improvement in following areas. What are the areas in which improvement can take place? The first and foremost improvement is seen in the organizational performance along with productivity. Then also there is an improvement in managerial communication. We can also see high or increase in commitment level of employees. And finally, the decision making is of high quality. And all these we are achieving because of which? We are achieving because of departmentalization. So these you can say in one way become the benefits of departmentalization also. Now as we discussed that there can be various bases, and what were the bases? They were the logics or the rationale or commonality because of which the department is made. Now under this category, students, the first basis of departmentalization is functional department. And what are functional department? I must ask this question to you. By now I am sure that you would be able to answer. They are nothing but grouping of or logical grouping of departments and units on the basis of function they perform. And what are different operative functions that organization has? We have already discussed that. We have finance as a function, marketing as a function, HR as a function, or production as a function. So different people together grouped because they have these capabilities or performing these functions, and also to perform these functions altogether the departments are created in organization. So they are called as functional departments of the organization. Tomorrow when you complete this course, you would be enhancing your skill or having a super specialization in any of these functional areas, and you may take up the lead role of these functional areas as heads of the department of maybe production, marketing, HR or finance, depending on your area of interest. So thus we can say that when departments are formed on the basis of specialized activity or functions performed by organization, it is called as functional departments. Organizational functions are, we have already discussed these on the basis of this type of department. Functions are different from managerial functions such as planning and organizing. You all know it very well. Planning, organizing, staffing, directing are the managerial functions. So the functional departments are traditional and they are the most common form of departmentalization. Traditional basis you can say of forming the departments in organization. It is also one of the most logical way to organize the departments. Now let's now do an evaluation of functional departments. So there can be some merits of, we can say, merits of functional departments in organization. So these are the merits. Since same or similar activities are performed by members, it is easier for functional managers to supervise the activities of their department. For example, a manager with marketing expertise manages the marketing department well. So functional departmentalization simplifies something. Can you guess, students? It simplifies the training procedure because each member is well versed in their area, so reduces the cost of training. And this is because departmental members require to have relatively narrow set of skills to work. It facilitates in-depth specialization also, and employees perform same or similar activities of repetitive nature. Effective coordination of activities within the department is very much simple and is also possible because of functional department. Functional managers can guide and motivate their department members as all of them have similar technical background. Managers are usually well aware of nature and requirements of each job and also the skill, knowledge and orientation of their employees. So thus these become the merits of functional departments. but there can always be some limitations to any phenomena. So, as functional managers and members usually have specialized knowledge and narrow perspective, it will be very difficult for them to understand and appreciate the problems of other functional departments, and they may also lose sight on organizational priorities and goals. Why we may so? Because by giving undue importance for departmental matters, interest and priorities, they may focus on department and they may lose their focus from organizational broader goals. So, that can be a limiting factor, and decision making is likely to be slower in organization with functional departments. This is because interdepartmental coordination may not be effective due to the homogeneous nature of individual departments. And finally, we can say that fixation of responsibility and accountability for organizational results may be very difficult, because the individual functional departments cannot be held directly responsible for any failed organizational mission. So, thus the accountability and responsibility fixing will be difficult. So, these can be various limitations to functional departments. For instance, it is tough to decide whether a new product failed because of marketing factor or because of production factor. So, this is what we cannot have individual functional department responsible for any kind of failures in the organization. Next in line, students, is the product departmentalization. So, what is product departmentalization? It means that the organization is divided into various categories based on different products it is producing, maybe under different brand names. Here we can have an example of our own Indian company, Hindustan Unilever, the one which we discussed as a case example also. This Hindustan Unilever has various divisions or various departmentalizations based on the products they make. Like for example, they have beauty care products which you use. One of the beauty care brand HUL has is Lakme. Then they have ice cream brands like Quality Ice Cream. They have tea brands like Brook Bond Red Label Tea, that probably you must have consumed. They have also personal care products like Lifebuoy and Dove. So, the divisions that they have on the basis of product, or the departments they have on the basis of product, we call it as product departmentalization. I think with the help of example, you must have understood what is product departmentalization. Let us see the theoretical aspect of it. So, product departmentalization is when organizational activities are classified and grouped on the basis of product and service which is sold by the organization. So, here in this kind of departmentalization, all the activities are connected to each product, including the production and marketing of that particular product. They are grouped together under one department, and in this way an organization will have a separate department for each product. So, like we discussed about HUL, it will have its divisions like personal care. This is one division for personal care, the other can be for beauty care department, and so on. Ice cream, quality walls, etc. So, as organization may prefer product departmentalization when its products require distinct production strategies. Every product will have their own production strategies, every product will have their own marketing strategies, every product will have their own HR functions, and different dedicated distribution channel also for each product by the organization. So, in this, the top managers of product departmentalization normally have complete autonomy over the operations of that product division. If large diversified companies often adopt product departmentalization for grouping their activities, example is HUL. Even another example is ITC, which is another Indian company having this kind of departmentalization. So, let us have some more information on the product departmentalization. So, it is easier to integrate and coordinate all the activities or functions connected with product and service. Thus, product departmentalization makes it possible for management to have fixing of accountability for performance of each department directly and accurately. Product departmentalization also facilitates the department to remain in close touch with the customers and also keep their needs and requirements in constant focus, because they are dealing with specific product which relates to a particular kind of customer or category of customer, that can be very well take their requirements can be taken by the product department. Also, it enables the organization to obtain specialization in specific product, and the organization can be known for it and thus can develop a good brand image for itself. It helps organization to develop managers in comprehensive manner in all aspects of the organization in different functional areas altogether. Unlike the functional departmentalization students, where this production, marketing, HR, finance were different departments, here for one department, that is for one product, the manager has a holistic development of all managerial functions altogether, because he is managing all functions for that product. Also, since each department performs the same set of functions such as market research and financial analysis, it often leads to duplication of functions and resources, and it eventually leads to increased administrative cost of the organization. Now, this can be a limiting factor for the product departmentalization, that it enhances the administrative cost. Along with that, managers may tend to view their products more important, even to the exclusion of other products from their organization, and in this process they may also compromise on overall interest of the organization. The third category of departmentalization is customer departmentalization, students. Now, in customer departmentalization, it is evident that we focus on the requirements of customer, or we focus on how the customer, what features in the product customer requires, or what are the necessities in customer life that we need to bring in terms of product and services to the individuals. So, the organizations, they divide themselves on the basis of category of customer. The category of customer can be based on demographics, like maybe children, or maybe on the basis of their gender, that is male or female. The category of customer can be based on someone who is professional or a housewife. So, this then helps the departmentalization to focus on their niche customer, for which they have proposed this particular department in existence. So, customer departmentalization is when the organizational activities are grouped on the basis of type of customer they are serving. So, the primary purpose of customer departmentalization is to ensure organization respond to the requirements of specific customer or group of customers effectively. It also enables the organization to have continuous interaction with their customer, which is very much necessary if you want to focus on what the customer requires. So, for example, banking companies, they normally use customer departmentalization to deal with their different and diverse needs, such as we have already explained. They may have a division for department for business people, may have a department for salaried people, or may have a department for agriculturalist, etc. So, it has some strengths and weaknesses that we should discuss. here we can say that merits of customer departmentalization is that it helps the organization to better understand their customers so that they can more effectively segment and target the products and services, which is I would say one of the best advantages of customer departmentalization, because we are able to cater to the customer what he is demanding from us. So, this should enable organization to create the best possible products and services necessary to ultimately increase the customer satisfaction, loyalty and organizational revenues as well. It also enables the organization to provide specialized skill to the staff to deal effectively with the customer assigned to them. So, it thus enables the organization to provide some kind of personalized services to the valuable customers through specialized staff. The customer centric approach to departmentalization also implies that customers are central to the organization, and this approach keeps the focus of organization on customer requirement rather than on product or functional requirements. So, these are the merits of customer centric departmentalization, but of course, there can be some limitations to customer departmentalization also. So, what are the limitations to it? The customer departmentalization requires organizations to have more staff. So, more staff means more expenditure, so that to look into the requirements of different classes of customers. So, this can obviously push up the administrative cost. Management may find it difficult to achieve effective coordination across different departments, customer departments of the organization. So, if we go for customer departmentalization, there can be chances that there is some kind of mismatch or lack of coordination amongst various departments. Further, this kind of departmentalization, here employees may tend to make decisions that delight the customers immediately without ascertaining the effect of decisions on the organization in the long term. So, for example, if you try to give some kind of trade discounts, so as an employee you may give some special scheme also to the customer, so as to have some higher sales at this point in time. But other offers can make customer happy, but have the potential effect to affect the organizational interest in the long run. So, similar to product departmentalization, customer departmentalization can also lead to duplication of functions and resources affecting profitability of the organization. Next kind of departmentalization, students, is geographic departmentalization. I believe you understand the term geographic. So, geographic means across the globe we have divided our whole market to which we are catering to into different regions, and these regions become our geographic locations to which we are catering to. Now, we all understand that in across the geographic locations the conditions are different, especially the weather conditions are different. Now, because the weather conditions are different, high probability is that the product used by the consumer is also different depending on the place they are surviving in. So, thus the company may modify their products based on the geographic requirements or needs of that particular place. So, taking an example, a shoe making company, if a shoe making company is making a leather shoe for a plain area, probably the kind of designing and the material they will use for a plain area will be very much different than a area which is on hills or is a snowy area. So, material may be utilized is the same, but the designing part of it or maybe some additional features which are added on to those areas where the normal shoes which are used in plain areas are not worked. So, this is how we have to see that geographic departmentalization also exists. Let us see the detailed theory behind it. So, when activities of an organization are grouped on the basis of geographic territory, we call it as geographic departmentalization, and the purpose of such a departmentalization is to locate the operations of an organization may be such as sales office, production plants and after sales service centers close to the market. They also carry out, they are responsible for carrying out activities that are assigned in geographic areas and enables the organizations to provide local focus to their operations. So, this local focus is what I have already explained to you. Moving further, this kind of organization which is geographic departmentalization has certain merits. And what are the merits? It enables the organization to respond quickly and effectively to customer needs and requirements without any loss of time, because they are located at the place where the customer also resides. It helps the organization to be aware of changes in customer needs, taste and preferences and other aspects of market. Here region specific issues are there, and any kind of problems that the customer is facing in that region can get due attention, and decision making process can be accordingly molded, and the method also provides faster and effective solution to regional issues. Experience gained at regional levels is a good training for managers to move on to the higher levels. It can help organizations to reduce the cost by keeping the reduce costing by keeping the unique organizational resources closer to the market. But the limiting factor of geographic departmentalization can be, since departments are geographically dispersed and physically separated from each other, it is difficult to coordinate their activities effectively. So, this problem may become more acute when the departments are located in different countries and they are separated by 1000 miles apart. So, organizations usually require large administrative staff for supervising the activities of employees working in different geographical departments, and this kind of departmentalization often result in duplication of organizational resources and functions. For example, high inventory cost we can expect. It is often with the outcome of geographic departmentalization. The next in line is process departmentalization. So, when the organizational activities are grouped on the basis of product, service, process used is called as process departmentalization. In this type of organization, the need for coordination is more, as quality of output often depends on the degree of coordination amongst the different processes. So, usually you can have technical functions involved in manufacturing organization form the basis for process technical functions which are involved in manufacturing organization form the basis for process departmentalization. So, mostly economic and technological factors, they guide the decision relating to departmentalization, which is based on this process. So, further the process departmentalization is better suited for, can you guess students, for what? For the organizations that have environment and technology which is stable and clear. Manufacturing organizations that have machines requiring special operating skills and technical facilities, they prefer the process departmentalization. So, typical process of this kind of department is, for example, sugar manufacturing company. As they are doing the cleansing, grinding, juicing, clarifying, evaporation and crystallization of the processes, like also another processes like refining, separation and packaging, etc. So, such manufacturing industries which have operating skills and technical facilities, they go for process departmentalization. But this also has some benefits and some merits to it, some merits as well as some limitations to it. So, the merits to process departmentalization is that it helps the manager to have gain in in-depth job specialization, as they sharpen their technical skills and knowledge in specific and limited area only. It ensures logical and effective flow of work activities which are necessary for smooth and hassle-free production of the goods. So, this method is better suited for work activities which involve use of specialized equipment and skill. If that is the case, then the organization can go for process departmentalization. It also facilitates effective supervision of employees as they often have common background with same or similar knowledge and skill. Thus, it makes the departments interdependent and collectively responsible for productivity and performance. Let us see the limits to this kind of organization. So, the method is not universal in nature as it cannot be adopted by all kinds of organization, that is in all forms, sizes and nature of the organization. So, this method is only ideal for certain types of organizations which produce certain type of products and goods or maybe certain services they are rendering. So, though the departments are interdependent, it is difficult to ensure effective coordination, which is a limiting factor, and then it will be difficult for organization to provide comprehensive skills and knowledge to managers due to their limited exposure and experience. So, what do we mean by comprehensive skills? The manager will only know the limited skill and expertise he is in. He may not have know-how of other functional areas or maybe other products. Then comes the next departmentalization, that is matrix departmentalization. What is matrix departmentalization? Students, when we have two types of departmentalization joining hands together to carry out the functions. What can be the example here? If you have all the functional departments working in organization like HR, finance, marketing, etc. and for these functions are carried out for different divisions in the organization. So, what all can be divisions in the organization? Like for yarn industry, yarn from which we make our cloth, there can be different divisions. It can be spinning of the yarn first, that is one division, weaving of the yarn another division, dyeing of the yarn another division, out of which you make your cloths. So, spinning, weaving, dyeing, they are different divisions of that particular organization, and it has also finance, marketing and HR as independent functions. So, what do we do then in that case? Then we have a structure like division 1, 2, 3, that is spinning, weaving and dyeing, these are the divisions, and here we have functions like HR, finance and marketing, and all these functions are carried out for each division by the same team. Then we say it is a matrix type of organization for division. So, in simple terms, for division 1, that is spinning, HR, finance, marketing is carried out, for weaving also it is carried out, and for dyeing also it is carried out by the same functional departments. So, theoretically speaking, when two or more forms of departmentalization are used for grouping the organizational activities, we call it as a matrix department. This structure is usually a mixture of functional, product, geographic, processes, customer or any other traditional forms of departmentalization. So, here for instance, the sales department of organization may be classified and grouped on the basis of various products it manufactures. And the well known form of matrix departmentalization involves a combination of functional and product forms, which I have already explained here. However, the organizations may also combine other forms of departmentalization like geographical and functional together to form a matrix department organization. Now, as we have discussed merits and limitations of previous departmentalization, we shall again discuss this for matrix departmentalization as well. So, matrix departmentalization is helpful in ensuring high level of cross functional interactions amongst members of different departments. Students, you understand cross functional interaction, that means members from various departments, they join hands together. So, they belong to different divisions and they join together to form a team to work on a particular kind of specific department. It is capable of reducing and eliminating duplication of functions and resources, because here, as we saw in the previous slide, HR, finance, marketing, which were the functional areas, they were carried out for all divisions. There was no requirement to have specific other managerial functions for these divisions. So, no duplication of function takes place, and this method is appropriate for effective execution of huge and complicated projects, as necessary physical resources and human resources can be quickly drawn from other departments and deployed to form a cross functional interaction between members. But having discussed the merits, we also have certain limitations to the matrix organization, and that can be that there is a large scope of misunderstanding and conflicts amongst the manager of matrix and functional departments, leading to confusion and chaos in the project execution. So, managers of functional department may not be too willing, to relieve their best people for the matrix organization, fearing that work disturbance may take in their own department. So, they will not send their best people for cross-sectional cross-functional departments or for matrix organization. Coordination also may be difficult among various departments, especially when the organization have several ongoing projects at the same time. And this may, because several projects are going on, so there can be scarcity of managers with diverse skills, which is required for managing complex matrix departments, and it may affect the formation and performance of these departments. Then comes the next form of departmentalization, that is time based departmentalization. So, here what happens, time becomes the basis for classifying and grouping the organizational activities. So, organizations operating on a shift basis are examples of departmentalization by time. For example, factories may operate in 3 shifts or maybe more for all hours in a day, with separate functional departments and separate managers for each shift. And this form of departmentalization ensures, so this is the merit of it, optimum utilization of organizational resources, as even though each type of department can bring some benefits to the organization, the management must choose this type of structure for departmentalization, because it uses the optimum utilization of organizational resources. Now, in general, let us discuss about why the organization should go for departmentalization altogether. Departmentalization, which is one of the tools for organizing. We are discussing the concept of organizing, and organization can be made effective if we are going ahead with departmentalization. So, what is that effectiveness that departmentalization creates in organization? It enables the managers and members of department to acquire specialization in the repetitive work they do. Since different departments under the care of different specialized manager, they work for growth and expansion of the organization. So, it is easier for organization to achieve faster and balanced growth with the help of departmentalization. And in the absence of departmentalization, it is difficult for organizations to go beyond a certain level. So, thus this becomes a bigger merit of departmentalization as a whole. As each department is assigned with specific and well defined works and goals, it is relatively easy for the higher management to fix responsibility for any performance lapse or failure or incompetency when we go for departmentalization. If we do not go for departmentalization, it is very difficult to identify how this lapse or failure has taken place. Further, through departmentalization, managerial authority can be also decentralized across the organization, and that decentralization can ensure that the department manager has some kind of real autonomy with him. So, organization can make optimum utilization of resources. Top management can train and develop its managers for higher positions, and departmentalization enables organization to respond quickly and effectively to customer needs and complaints. So, these are all benefits of having departmentalization or practicing departmentalization in the organization. There can be some negative side to departmentalization also. So, in spite of many benefits, departmentalization has some major limitations too. Let us look into these limitations. So, departmentalization often slows down decision making process on the organization. How it slows down, students? As too many people, are consulted every time when decisions are made. So, consequently, it causes difficulty, and it also causes delay in coming up with the right kind of decisions. Administrative cost of organization is bound to go up as the consequence of departmentalization. So, as a result of departmentalization, this is because large administrative staff is used, large admin staff is used, and also infrastructure is to be created. By the organization to maintain different department. Infrastructure for different departments is required. Integrating the activities of various departments to achieve organization plan and goal becomes a challenge and a complex task, and management may also find it difficult to hold any department responsible for goal failures. So, these are the limitations of departmentalization. Now, let us try to understand the next concept, that is span of management. What is span of management? Span of management is number of subordinates for each member in the organization. Span of management is also called as span of control, span of supervision, or span of authority. So, the number of these people who are under any particular manager should neither be too large or not to be too small, because if it is too large, then it is unmanageable. If it is too small, then the resources are underutilized. So, thus types of management, span of management can be wide span of management. Wide span of management means there is a manager and this manager has many subordinates under him. We also call it as flat structure. This kind of span of management is called as flat structure. Flatter structures are flexible and better able to adapt to the changes. It is also called as operative span, and here we have less hierarchical levels. As you can see in the picture, there is only one hierarchical level in this span of management. Then the second span of management is narrow span of management. Under narrow span of management, we have more hierarchical levels, like in this graphic. If we may see here, the span of management for this manager is only 2, for this manager is 3 people, and further we can have more divisions. So, here you have more hierarchical levels, and it is called as a tall structure. And organizations with tall structure facilitate effective managerial control. How they facilitate, students, effective managerial control? Because as you can see, this person has to only manage 2 people and this person has to manage 3 people. So, it is easier to have managerial control. Tall structures are capable of reducing the routine supervisory burden on the managers. Can you answer to this? Why tall structures can do this? Capable of reducing the routine supervisory burden on managers? Students, you also should storm your brain and give certain answers to it. Because it offers greater promotion opportunities, to the people, and this in turn enables them to focus on some kind of repetitive and creative planning activities. Creativity is higher here in tall structures, while in narrow structure, in flat structure, the more supervisory work, routine work is carried out and scope for creativity is very much limited. What are the factors that influence span of management in organization? So, it is managers' direct interaction in the form of one-to-one relationship with each subordinate entrusted to them. So, there are three kinds of interactions that take place. Before we go on to the factors, let us understand the three kind of interactions that are there. One is the direct interaction one-on-one with the subordinate. Then second is the cross interaction in the form of diagonal relationship among the subordinates, and the third is the group relationship between the groups of subordinates. So, the possible number of interactions, students, it can be interactions. Possible interactions can be calculated with the help of a formula, and the formula is interaction is equal to number of interactions with among subordinates, and n is the number of subordinate here. So, when two subordinates work under one manager, according to Greikunus, 6 interactions are possible. In which scenario? When there are two subordinates under one manager. So, when the number of subordinate is increased, say for example to 5, then the number of possible interactions can become 100. So, this clearly shows that direct relationship between the number of subordinates and the complexity of the relationship. As the number is increasing, the complexity of relationship is also increasing. So, thus beside the complexity of relationship, some other factors also influence the decision regarding the span of management. And what are these factors? These factors include nature of work, whether it is repetitive, routine, or it needs creativity. It depends on knowledge, skill, ability of the subordinate. If they are highly specialized or trained, then you can go for more subordinates. If not, then you have to go for less subordinates. Qualification and competency of managers also, to what extent they can handle the span of management. Do they have the capability to handle large span, or they can only handle a narrow span? That will depend on their qualification and competency. Physical dispersion of the subordinates. Under this, the subordinates can influence the span of management of an organization when they are physically dispersed from the manager. Now, what do we mean by physical dispersion? This means they are located at different location, different geographic location than the manager. They are apart from him, and thus the closure supervision is very difficult to handle when they are at the different locations. Stability of the organization also plays an important role in deciding on what is going to be the span of management. So, when the organization including its departments remains largely unaffected by the environment, so that means we can say the environment is stable. In that case, we can have large span of management. For unstable environments, we need to go for smaller span of management. And availability of standard operating procedures, I think you can answer students quickly. If SOP is available, we go for large because supervision is then less required. If SOP is absent, then in that case we need to go for narrow span of management or less people under a manager. Moving on to training facilities. So, this can also influence the span of management when organization processes adequate training resources and capability for constantly meeting the skill needs which are to be updated in the employees or in workforce in dynamic environment, the span can be wider. If the training facilities are less, then the span can be narrower. Now, what is the management philosophy? That is the thought process of the management. What is their belief, their democratic principles, their emphasis on participative planning, etc. If they are having some kind of focus on participative planning, then we can go for narrow span. While if they have some kind of communication system in the organization where they have autocratic nature or coercive approach, they can have wider span. So, in autocratic and coercive approach, they can have wider span. And finally, manager's personal preference plays a greater role what kind of group he wants to cater to or he wants to control to. So, they may opt for wider span of management despite other factors favoring the narrow span because of their own specific capabilities or maybe their own desire or preference. So, even if you have other factors supporting narrow span of management, you may go for larger span of management because of your own personal choice as a manager. So, students, we have discussed this benefits or various components of span of management, on what basis the manager decides upon whether the manager should go for narrow span of management or wider. This is the bibliography which I have used for today's session, wherein I tried to highlight various components of key elements which cater to job organizational structure and design, and what are the benefits and limitations of these key elements. So, this is all, students, from my side for this session, organizing part 2. We shall be taking forward the rest of the content of organizing in organizing part 3 session. Thank you.